And hi again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Donovan and Dino, along with the voice of the Browns, Jimmy Donovan. I'm Dave DeNatale. And Jimmy, as they say, all good things must come to an end. What I thought the Kansas City game in many ways was kind of like a microcosm for the season, in a game where the Browns, had ups and downs and things go their way. They still fought back and hung in there and gave themselves an opportunity at the end.
Yeah, they really did. I think they knew it was going to be a difficult day. After all, they are the defending Super Bowl champions, and their record is amazing since they've gotten Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid has gotten that offense rolling the way it has. But I would tell you this, the suddenness of losing in the NFL playoffs is amazing. It really is. I mean, all the excitement that you have all week long building up to a game, and then, unlike in the other sports, you lose and it's over. There's no game 2 or game 5 or game 7. When you lose the game, it comes to an end, and you're off to the offseason. And it's very abrupt. And it's been, of course, a long, long time since we've faced this. And I remember how bad those days were back in the mid-'80s when the Browns lost those AFC championship games to Denver, and how heartbreaking they were, and really what a funk everybody was in for about a week. And I have to be honest with you, I'm kind of going back a little bit like that here today. It really is quite sudden. It's understandable what happened. They didn't have their best day, and yet they fought out of it, like you said, Dino, and had a chance to win the game. And that's all you can ask for at that point. You either win it or you don't. They couldn't get it done. They didn't get it done offensively after the Carl Joseph interception. And they didn't get it done defensively to get the ball back, 3rd down at 14. And they allowed Chad Henne to get dangerously close to the 1st down. And then they get the 4th down play. So, they leave Arrowhead Stadium, and I'm sure they look back and say, wow, I mean, we were right there and we just couldn't pull it off. And we'll have to be better when we are presented with that same situation, hopefully next year.
From your vantage point, as you're calling the game on Sunday and the Rashard Higgins play at the goal line is happening, how are you seeing that? First just to see, okay, ball goes out of end zone, it's a touchback, and then to see the replay and you say, oh my goodness, there was targeting or whatever, leading with the head, whatever it is. There were so many things that break apart from that play.
Yeah, and it really just added to the frustration of the entire first half. I mean, the first half was really disastrous for them, and it ended that way on that particular sequence. So you're seeing it, and you're saying, okay, it looks like it's going to be 16-10 here in a second, and you're really back into the game because you're going to get the ball right away to start the second half. And then the ball comes out of his hands and goes into the end zone, and I saw it roll out. So immediately, at that point, I knew that's the rule. He fumbled into the end zone. It's going to be a touchback in Kansas City ball. It wasn't until I saw the replay, really, to see the helmet-to-helmet hit, and there's no doubt it was a helmet-to-helmet hit. I go back to, if you remember this, and you will, game 1 of the Cavaliers Golden State Warriors, the last time they were in the finals together. And it looks like the Cavs have won the game in game 1. Which might have changed the series. Maybe it wouldn't have, but certainly it's appropriate to this situation. And if you remember, the referees went to the video to take a look at a certain play. When they got there, the play that they went to take a look at was okay, but they noticed something else that wasn't okay, and the ball went back over to Golden State, and we know what happened. They won that game in overtime and then swept the Cavaliers. So that's not there in the NFL. That you cannot do that. That's tough. That really is. I think if you see something, especially when you're so delicate and particular about safety, and I think the NFL is falling in line with college sports and all sports for that matter, when you're so in step with making sure that that type of hit, nobody gets away with that, to see them get away with that at any point in the game or on the field, that's a tough thing. Now you add in the dynamics of a big playoff game and trying to get back into the game, it really makes that sting.
I thought that, kind of the second half, finally the Browns kind of went back to being what the Browns were to me this year, that power running team. They fed Nick Chubb. They threw it to Nick Chubb, and I was glad they did after the couple drops in the first half. And they put together a couple of nice drives, after the interception. But I think the one thing it's as I look at it, Jimmy, I just want to get your thought. There are going to be learning experiences from that. Baker made the interception and he owned it. And Kevin Stefanski owned the fact that, look, I made a bad challenge on the challenge flag and cost us the timeout. These guys are going to, I think hopefully we're going to have another opportunity, many opportunities for the Browns to be at this level again and to learn from some of the things that didn't go right yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't their best day on the sideline. It really wasn't. The game plan was a little bit funny. And I'll elaborate on that for a second here. I think we sit here every week and we have dialogue about the dynamics of having Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt together and how awesome it is to have them and what a problem it is for any team that comes to play the Cleveland Browns. But week in and week out, and again, I think it happened yesterday, where the awesomeness is lost on me because they really don't know how to. I'm not saying I know how to do it, but it's not being done. We are not really coming at these teams with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Hunt was an afterthought all afternoon long, which I thought was really strange. And Dino, just down to the practicality of it, if you're going to throw the football to the running back, you throw the ball to Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is by far and always will be a much better receiving back out of the backfield than Nick Chubb. No slam on Chubb.
No.
I mean, he does so many other things so well, but he's just a little mechanical when that happens, whereas Hunt is fluid and explosive. But getting back to my point, and that is that I think, and we even get this to questions to us, before we do a sportscast, people will write in and say, why don't they use Chubb and Hunt together more? And they did it a little bit yesterday. And I don't know what it is. I tend to think that there really isn't a concrete package within their offense that says, okay, we're going to go to this offense right now, and Chubb and Hunt are going to be in there together, or we're going to roll them in one play after another play. It's more of a dialogue weapon than it is a weapon in their playbook week to week. I really don't see it. I just thought it was really not the best day on the sideline. I really felt that knowing what the game meant to Kareem Hunt, how hard he ran in the Pittsburgh game Sunday night to get to Kansas City, and how driven he was to get there, I would have thought that he would have had a few more calls early in the game. And definitely if you're going to throw the ball out of the backfield to screen passes, and I know Chubb hit a huge screen pass the week before, but Kareem Hunt is the better bet on that situation. So I thought that was strange all game long. And then finally, when he did get in the game, you saw what happened. I mean, he ran with a passion, and Chubb did too. But, I mean, Hunt ran with a desire and a passion that he just wasn't going to be brought down. You needed that. You needed more of that. And you needed it earlier, and you needed it in the first half. So I think we all should table gosh, look out, we've got those two backs, and we're going to put them out there together, because it's like, no, we're not. We haven't anyway. Now, maybe they will this offseason, and they'll come out and they'll be able to establish that, and that maybe we didn't do it for lack of an offseason. But I just think it's a bunch of chatter more than it's put into practice, and it always fascinates people. Why wouldn't it? These two guys are unbelievable, and if they were on different teams, they would be the lead back for their specific teams. And I love having them on the same team, but I would love to see the dynamic play out that the two of them are used at the same time, and they become just something that's unstoppable for the team's defense that the Browns are playing.
It's a good, excellent point. All right, so you've helped me get into what I wanted to talk to you next here. As you think about, we're now in this off season, and we're all kind of in that Monday morning hangover with it. But what are going to be some of the biggest priorities here for Andrew Berry from a personnel perspective as the general manager, and Kevin Stefanski and his coaching staff, as they look to take what they've done and everything great that they've done this year and try to ascend to the next level?
So I think there are two areas. I think number one is what do you go out and get in the way of free agency and in the draft? And then the second area is what are you going to do contractually and doing business with your own people? Because they have a bunch of young players that I know they want to keep and that definitely have a future with the Browns, but you're going to have to make a contractual commitment to those guys in some way, shape, or form. Either you're going to pick up options or you're going to start to work on long-term deal. Let's just go to the obvious issue, though. They got it all done on offense last offseason, and the promise is that they knew they were going to have to fix the defense, and they're going to have to do it. There's no doubt about it. It was crystallized really in both playoff games, I think, that, they need to play better defense. And it really comes down to, if you want to even make it even more specific, they have to get better on third down defensively. They have to be able to get off the field. What's the play everyone's going to be talking about besides the Higgins play at the end of the first half? Third down at 14 against Chad Henne, and he's able to get outside the pocket and run for 13 and a half yards, get the first down on fourth down, and the ball game is over. There's no way that should have happened. So defensively, they have to get a couple of things. Number one, they're probably going to need a pass rusher on the other side of Myles Garrett, because I think it's safe to say that Olivier Vernon will not be back. He had a bad injury, and I think that probably definitely young passer right away to be the AB guy with Garrett, on the other side. Second of all, Dino, they have to get a playmaking, game-changing linebacker. There is no doubt about it, okay? These young guys that they have are okay, and they're very athletic. Mac Wilson, obviously figured in the game yesterday, certainly on the hit against Mahomes. Taki, interesting player. I think this kid, Jacob Phillips, is going to be an interesting player, but they don't change the game. And I think all the really good teams have linebackers that can really change the football game. And I think they have to get that kind of a player. And then they need to hope that the vision they have for Grant Delpit is going to live out to be true. Delpit didn't play it down. In fact, he never even had a physical practice contact because he went out with that ruptured Achilles tendon so early in training camp. But when you look at Tyrann Mathieu yesterday and how he affected the game for Kansas City, and he's everywhere, he's all over the field. And that's what I think they envisioned Delpit to be, that kind of player. Now, we don't know. Is he going to be that kind of player? We haven't seen him play anything in the NFL. And second of all, is he going to be okay? That's a bad injury, an Achilles tendon, no matter how young you are. It's a long way back from that. But that will be critical for them. Those three spots, I think. Number one, pass rusher. Two, a game-changing, real tough defensive linebacker in the middle of that defense. And then Delpit coming back and becoming the safety that I think all the good teams in the NFL have. Contractually, they're going to have to make some decisions. I would think at the very least they pick up the option for Mayfield on the 5th year and probably get to work on a long-term deal. I think that they pick up the option on Denzel Ward. I think they do that. I think they have to get a deal done with Teller. They have to get they already have picked up the option on Njoku. They're probably going to have to take a look. They don't have to do anything right away with Chubb because he was a second-round draft choice. So, he's on a true 4-year deal. But I think they probably have to start thinking about what they're going to do with Nick Chubb. Those are some of the issues I think that business-wise, they're probably going to have to take a look at.
What about, they don't have to do anything with Odell Beckham Jr. He's under contract, but, with the decision of what to do with Rashard Higgins and if they want to go out and re-sign him with Landry and with Beckham under contract, anything there? Is that going to be an issue, going forward?
Well, it's always an issue with OBJ. So,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say it will be an issue. I think that's more when will it become an issue? Is it going to become an issue pretty soon, or is it going to go deeper into the offseason? Again, now you're dealing with a guy that contractually on paper, he's going to make a pretty big number. And number two, that's, he's coming off a major injury, and there's no doubt he's already rehabbing at a very high level and intensity. And so I think physically he really realizes that he's going to have to get his body back. And I think he's always very careful about that. But this is a guy now that's had a string of injuries, Dino, because he had that surgery last offseason in that hip area that really bothered him all last year. And now he's had this major knee surgery. So a couple of avenues, could they trade him? Boy, I don't know. I think that a lot of teams are saying he's starting to get up there in age. He's coming off a major injury. He is a real persona when you bring him into your locker room. And the other thing, he makes a lot of money. So that's going to be fascinating, because there were points yesterday where I really missed him in the game and said, gosh, it would be great to have him. You get the ball at the 20-yard line, 8 minutes left to go. You need a touchdown, and you want yardage right away. Odell Beckham Jr. can do what Tyreek Hill does for Kansas City. He can get you the catch and 15 more yards on the back edge of the catch. And I don't know that the Browns have that kind of receiver. I still think that they are a receiver shy. I think Higgins, Dino, they will get a deal done with Higgins. And I think Landry is Landry. But I don't know if the upside is going to be big on Donovan Peoples-Jones. Maybe it will be, but it's probably going to take a little bit more time. And I think this is a now team right now that feels the window is open. They can win. Kadarius Hodge is a system-type player. I still think there are receivers. Hell of a receiver if he's healthy and ready to go, and if he's in the right frame of mind. The other thing that will weigh into this, and this will become a topic as we approach this and hear more from Beckham now into the offseason, is there's no doubt, Dino, Baker Mayfield became a statistically better quarterback when Beckham went out.
Correct.
And before when he was here. And so that's going to have to come on the table, like what's going on? When he's in the offense, why does the quarterback look so different? When he's out of the offense, why does the quarterback look like a can't miss?
Yeah, that's because it's a conversation. I know this. So, doing 2 or 3 radio interviews last week nationally, people still ask you about that, and there's no answer. So yeah. I completely agree with you.
It's funny, Dino. You get asked that, and you get asked that nationally.
Yeah.
But here in Cleveland, his name hasn't come up really at all since he went out injured, because the offense has looked so great, and Mayfield has looked so great running that offense. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. As we kind of bring this to a close, as you think about great moments, great, highlights that you had this year, calling these games and being, our eyes and ears and our heart of the Browns this year as the voice of the Browns, what's going to stand out to you?
Well, I think that the job that the coach did, and when he got his first win, which was that Thursday night after a really tough opener 4 days before that in Baltimore, and the way he was able to turn that team around so quickly. I mean, really, when you're playing on Thursday and you have just played Sunday, you might have one practice. Now, I know as the year went along, that was a lot, considering how the COVID situation played out. But a new coach and everything like that, and I was very impressed with what he did. And when he won his first game, and we didn't have to wait a year or a half a season to get it. He got it, 2 games in. So the way they played, though, that intrigued me that night against Cincinnati, that, boy, this offense is really good. And, Dino, that was a night, and going back to an original point, that was a night where Hunt and Chubb were used in a way where
absolutely
it became a point where Cincinnati didn't know what was hitting them.
Yep.
No, I would say this. So that was one point. The Cincinnati game, the second game down in Cincinnati, was a big, big day because Baker Mayfield rallied the team in an incredible back and forth game, and a picture of what this division is going to look like for probably a long time. Joe Burrow running the show for Cincinnati, Baker Mayfield running the show for Cleveland. Wow, what a dynamic. I mean, they traded punches one right after the other, and it was whoever had the ball last was probably going to win the game, and the Browns struck through with a big win. And I think that was a big win for Baker Mayfield, and that's how a quarterback is defined. I think when they finally clinched the playoff spot, it was just very emotional at the stadium. I was wishing it was packed, but it wasn't. Yet you could feel the excitement all around the city. When they knocked off the Steelers, though, and they were the real Steelers in the playoff game on that Sunday night in Pittsburgh. That was one of the great wins, considering what they had to go through all week. No practice, no head coach on site, assistant coaches out, all-pro left guard out, Denzel Ward out, and they went over there and they really dominated. That was really something. And then I got to tell you, last week was pretty incredible. All the other stuff, the 4,000 fans that drove around Al Lerner Way outside that stadium honking those horns, because I know a couple of years ago, you were our beat reporter at that other parade, that 0-16 parade. So this was that. I have to say, that was really cool. I mean, then so I always, and I've talked to you about this, the old days, the Kozar days, and how the frenzy that Cleveland was in getting ready for a big game. I wondered if those would ever come back. And even with restrictions on being able to be outside and, wearing a mask and being 6 feet apart, Browns fans went out because they were just so happy to have this back. So it restored my faith in Browns Nation that once the team is respectable and starting to win, that frenzy will be back. And I think it's back. I really do. And I think it's great. And it's heartwarming to see them send the team off and welcome them home, win or lose. That's the kind of stuff that makes a town like Cleveland really special. Absolutely.
And let me tell you something, my friend. You had a wonderful, in very difficult circumstances, as we've talked about. You've been at First Energy Stadium home and away all year with Deke calling these games. You had a wonderful year. And I think in many ways, you, as I said, you are our eyes, ears, and heart for this football team this year. And can't thank you enough for doing these shows with me every Monday, and can't thank you enough for the great work you do on Sundays, my friend.
Thanks, Dino. Had a lot of fun. Really, we all had a lot of fun. Wish training camp open tomorrow.
You and me both, my friend. Well, I hope I can reserve you for more Donovan and Dinos as we get in this off season and we have some news to report and some developments and things like that. We can talk some more, and then I look forward. God, by the time we get back to 2021, I want to be doing these shows with you face to face. But I thank you, my friend, for making your time on these Mondays for us.
Absolutely, Dino. Thanks a lot.
All right, we thank you all for watching Donovan and Dino right here on WKYC.com.